Here's a collection of actual crimes committed by really dumb criminals. Just sit back and enjoy the insanity as we present. Stupid crime stories you just won't believe. In 2023, a man serving in the U.S. Air Force was stationed in Germany. He was living there with his wife and their child, but they were going through a divorce. As with many pending divorces, there was tension in the home. Around that time, the husband noticed something odd. The coffee his wife was serving him began to have a strange taste. He suspected his wife may have been attempting to poison him. The man purchased some pool testing strips to check the coffee. To his surprise, he found high levels of chlorine. He didn't say anything to his wife. Instead, he just pretended to drink the coffee. He did this until they were able to return to the States a few months later. This was a smart move as it would ensure that she would be arrested and tried under the U.S. court system. Once they returned to the base back home, he installed hidden cameras to see how his wife was preparing the coffee. He did this for several days. What he found was shocking. His wife would take bleach, pour it into a container and then walk over and empty the bleach into the coffee maker. She would then serve him the tainted coffee. Of course, all this time his wife thought he was actually drinking every cup she made for him. She was probably wondering why he was still alive. Once he had the video evidence, the man filed a police report. He told investigators that he believed his wife wanted to kill him for his death benefits since he was in the military. Police then arrested 39-year-old Melody Felicano Johnson. She was charged with attempted first-degree murder, aggravated assault and adding harmful substances to food or drink. Johnson pleaded not guilty to the charges. Perhaps she will try to convince the judge that she was only trying to kill germs. She was assigned a public defender and held on a $250,000 bond. Prosecutors told the judge a high bond was necessary because the suspect recently bought a house in the Philippines near her family and is considered a flight risk. In 2023, the Safety and Risk Management team at a Ford assembly plant in Missouri received a threatening phone call. According to officials, the caller claimed to have an AK-47 with 3 spare magazines, a pistol, and a pound of C4 explosive strapped to his chest. He said that he had barricaded himself in a second-floor bathroom in the paint area of the plant. The man said he was a disgruntled Ford worker. In response, Ford ceased all production at the plant, including the night shift. The Kansas City assembly plant employs about 7,250 workers. At the time of the incident, thousands of workers had to be evacuated. But there was a problem with the man's threat. He claimed he was an employee, but he gave a first name that did not match anyone at the location he claimed to work in. After pinging his phone, they determined that he was using a spoofed number. Officers were unable to establish contact with the man after the initial call. Police then suspected that this was a swatting incident. Swatting is when someone calls police and makes a false claim that requires a SWAT team response. It is an enormous waste of resources. A spokesperson for the local sheriff's office said they have to assume every call is real until they can prove otherwise. After searching the Ford plant, officers determined that the threat was not credible. Police were later able to identify a 19-year-old man as the caller. He admitted to investigators that he had downloaded an app to conceal his phone number. He said he learned about C4 explosives from playing the Call of Duty video game. His reason for making the threat was to get his friend off work early. Yet he pleaded not guilty to the judge. He faces up to 7 years in prison and a $10,000 fine if he is found guilty of making a terroristic threat. The judge set a $150,000 bond and ordered no further contact with the Ford plant. In addition, he is required to have GPS monitoring if he is able to produce enough money to pay his bond. In 2022, a British man was arrested for attacking and biting a police dog. Police were trying to arrest the man after locals complained of him assaulting 3 people and causing criminal damage in the area. When Humberside police attempted to take him into custody, he started punching and kicking the officers. He basically acted like a wild animal, even hitting police with some fencing material and causing them minor injuries. By this time, Officers had had enough and called the K9 unit. They then sent in a police dog named PD Xander. However, the man was still not willing to comply. He managed to grab Xander by the collar and started twisting the dog's neck. He then bit the dog in the head. When police finally arrested the man, he was charged with assaulting an emergency services worker, causing unnecessary suffering to an animal, assault, criminal damage and 2 counts of battery. 34-year-old Matthew Bolter was sentenced to 8 months in prison after he pleaded guilty. Considering how much police value their service dogs, this guy probably got off easy. Police stated that PD Xander quickly made a full recovery and was back at work the next day. In 2011, a man walked into Marilyn's boutique in Florida to pawn some jewelry. He started showing the store manager the items he had for sale. As the woman inspected the jewelry, she noticed that the pieces resembled the ones from her own jewelry collection at home. In fact, each item looked exactly like the ones she owned. Apparently, these items were either unique or had some type of engraving that she was able to identify. What the manager didn't realize was that her house had been robbed earlier in the day. She then excused herself to the back of the store and discreetly called her husband. While her husband called police, she managed to stay calm and continued talking to the man about the jewelry he was selling. She stalled him long enough for the police and her husband to arrive. The man was then detained by police. Meanwhile, officers went to the couple's home with the husband. When they arrived, they could see that the door had been forced open. Once inside, it was clear that the house had been ransacked. The husband also noticed that their jewelry was missing. This confirmed that the man at the shop was trying to sell them jewelry he had just stolen from them hours earlier. In short, this guy was trying to pawn off stolen jewelry at a store that was managed by the woman who owned the home he had just robbed. Seriously, what are the odds? The thief is probably asking the same question. In the end, the couple was able to recover all of the items that were stolen from their home. Police then charged 33-year-old Nathaniel Coleman with dealing in stolen items, defrauding a pawnbroker, and grand theft of items between $5,000 and $10,000. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel. Our weekly videos will feature such topics as stupid crime stories, classic TV, and the real stories behind popular songs from the past and present. There will be even more categories as we continue to grow.